morning, welcome back to the channel. Been a bit absent lately. I haven't done my normal weekly stuff that I normally do. Life gets in the way, other trips, you know, those 2 Mac Loop trips take a lot of time up, and then you get your time back on the weekends making it up to the people you didn't spend the time with. Anyway, just off the back of the last Hercules trip, I hope you enjoyed it. A very short video, but it is what it is. It was a very quick trip, overnight, and then just up the loop for one day. The shelter I sat in, I just want to touch upon that. You notice a blue shelter in the video? I got it from Amazon, 40 quid. Don't buy one. They do not stand up to the wind up in the Mac Loop. It just crushes it. It's got no poles. It's a flip out thing. So that got sent back. Let that be a warning. Other warning with forestry walks and stuff now, and walking to the Mac Loop and through all the ferns, it's tick season. Please be careful. I had one in me when I got back from the Mac Loop. So we're back. I've got other things planned. I've just come up for a simple walk today. Very quiet Sunday. Hopefully catch some deer or whatever other wildlife I can find. Then next weekend I'm down in Cornwall. The weekend after I'm at RIAT. For those of you who don't know what RIAT is, it's the Royal International Air Tattoo at Fairford. So that'll be an awesome day. I'll do a little featurette on that, get loads of GoPro footage and loads of photos. That will be awesome. And I plan on making one more Mac Loop trip this year, and of course get back up onto Exmoor at some point. I do miss that place, but absence makes the heart grow fonder, doesn't it? So on my return, I'll hopefully find some new stuff, some new landscapes, and just go a little bit further into Exmoor, I hope. Until then, stay tuned. Here's a nice little picture of a rabbit. Wanted to touch upon a subject today. I'll put this in your mind and we'll talk about it in a minute. What's a photo? What's a photograph? I've been thinking about it a lot lately. People question my photography, why I do it, what I do. So let's touch upon this subject. What is a photograph? We'll talk about it in a bit. Awesome bit of luck this morning. First field I normally walk past, there's quite a large deer in there. So great luck. I had the right settings, so I've caught her running across the grass. Worse luck, didn't have the GoPro switched on. I've come around and walked up the path by our Foxton Hotel, the old hotel, and there's just a deer sat behind a branch. And they've let me get really, really close to the point of where I've almost had to dial back from 600mm and allowed me to sit on the floor quietly and photograph it whilst it stayed still and just looked at me. It was only about a minute, if that, 30-40 seconds. But yeah, what a lovely little privilege for this morning. I'll put those up now. I'm going to walk up into the woods. Not even in the woods yet, and I've had so much luck already. It's great. So, what's a photograph? It's a moment in time, isn't it? It's a captured moment in time. That's my definition of a photograph. When you come to the forest, lock the doors behind you, lock the gates, because this gate isn't locked, which makes me quite sad that people just can't be arsed to do something simple that takes 2 seconds. Yeah, so a photograph, a moment in time, a captured moment in time. Nobody else has captured that moment. Nobody. It's yours. It's your photograph. For you to look back on to hold memories, whether that be of parents, kids, family, deer, aeroplanes, weddings. You know, wedding videos are becoming so popular nowadays, aren't they? But you mustn't forget the photographer. It's important. One of the images I captured for the last wedding I did, over a year ago now, they just had their anniversary, bless them. One of the comments about one of the shots was the confetti shot, and Lauren said, "You captured Nathan's face like I've never seen before." You won't get that in a video. Yeah, you can take stills from a video, can't you, if you know what you're doing, but you don't get that. And a photograph is a moment that you've captured. You were there, you saw it, you captured it. You know, whether or not that's in RAW, JPEG, you've edited it or not, it's yours. And you know what, I remember the first picture I ever took up here of some deer, and I finally had some luck. I'm not going to be able to find it. It is in the deepest, darkest part of my first ever 2 terabyte hard drive. The sun came through the trees and lit the deer's ears up, and that's all I've got. I've got the back of the head and the ears, but that for me was such a precious moment in time, because that was my first deer shot and I caught that. So don't forget that when you're out doing your photography. It's yours, it's your time, it's your memories that you capture. There's so many videos out there now telling you how to do things properly, and I saw one yesterday. I'm gonna go on one in a minute. Perfect focus every time. How? Please tell me how. Yeah, of course, there's tips and tricks, there's settings. I had the correct settings in this morning to capture that deer in good motion running across the grass. But not every one of those pictures is going to be focused perfectly, because I'm panning, and with that you get your inherent movement in your camera and through the lens. Yeah, it's got brilliant steady shot settings, this Sony, wicked steady shot settings, but not every picture's perfect. If I showed you how many pictures I deleted from the Mac loop of bits of aeroplane, because I'm no good at panning yet properly, you'd be amazed. I think the first trip up the Mac loop, that Friday morning, I took 500 shots. 46 of them I considered perfect, focused perfectly. 500 down to 46. I mean, some of them weren't great. Some of them were ass shots and tail shots, and it just didn't work out. But I don't know what I'm trying to say. Don't get too involved in these videos that prattle on about perfect this and perfect that. Get out there, get on the buttons, get learning. I'll always throw in tips, tricks, my settings and what I'm doing, but that's all I've done. I've picked my camera up and I've learned. I'm finally this morning thinking I'm getting well on top of this Sony now. I know where everything is. I can looking through the viewfinder, I can confidently put my finger on the buttons that I want, and that is learning your camera. But don't get wound up. You will get things wrong. Professional photographers still get things wrong. No one is perfect, but it's that learning curve that you learn from. My second trip to the Mac loop versus my first trip was very different. I learned about the tracking settings in this camera and the focus tracking, back button focus. I've always had back button focus, but I forgot to use it on my first trip to the loop, which was a bit silly. But there you go. Nonetheless, I've learned from that error. I've learned from that mistake. All my deer photography, it's not all perfect. You only see the perfect pictures. So don't get sucked in by, you can do this perfectly if you follow this. It's clickbait almost, isn't it? come and watch my video, I'll show you some settings. It doesn't necessarily mean you can apply them to the photography that you're doing. But yeah, little rant, there you go. Do you know what? Just taking 5 minutes out. Appreciate the peace and quiet. You forget in the summer how harder it is to find the light in the forest because of the dense foliage that's back. You know, the canopy is so much thicker. You forget that, you know, you go up there in winter, everything's dormant and all the foliage is gone, the fern's gone, so the deer haven't really got anywhere to hide. But now the fern, some of the fern's up to the top of my head. So there are plenty of places to hide. It's difficult with settings because the light is not breaking through that foliage on the canopy. Right, whilst I'm sat down, I'm going to attempt to show you what back button autofocus is. So your usual focus button is normally the shutter button. You have to press it, your little square, triangle, circle, whatever, and your viewfinder goes green, it's focused, blah blah blah, you take a shot. That's not always an ideal way to do it. Sometimes you need back button autofocus. Now I know with the Sony on the lens, turn you around a minute, there you go, you've got these three buttons. You've got one there, you've got one on the top, and you've got one underneath on the bottom. Now they will hold your focus, but that's not ideal. They don't work in every single mode. But that's not ideal when you're turning the dial between 200 and 600. You physically haven't got enough hand and finger to do it. So what you need to do is something called back button autofocus. Now it's called back button because the button that holds it is usually on the back of the camera. So let's turn you around again. So for me, this button here centers the focus. It brings it back to center. The AEL button, if I can get in that close, just above my thumb there, that holds my focus. Okay, so the point of holding your focus, let's take aviation for example. At some point when you're pressing that shutter button, you're going to let go of it. Now if you haven't got the back button autofocus hold down, you're going to lose your focus. Now on a jet that's moving 500 knots, you might as well give up there. But if you've got that back button held down and you're tracking, that focus will stay. Now the reason you'll let go of the shutter button is because if you're in high speed shooting, depending on what speed memory card you've got, you're going to run out of processing time for the shots. In the Sony, you've got a little dial that keeps going down, down, down and down and down, and then it won't take any more shots. So you've physically got to let go of the button, of the shutter button, so you'll lose your focus. Now if you're in a good panning mode and you lose your focus, it's going to be a bitch to get it back, if you get it back at all. A Kingfisher for example, lose it, gone. 500 knot jet, lose it, the jet's over there. So the whole point of the back button is to keep that focus held down, keep tracking your shot, and then you can adjust your shutter button as you do. You'll find a comfortable position. I almost press it with the center part of my thumb for the back button part and keep this finger down on the shutter button. But that is the basics of back button autofocus. Most cameras have it. Google your camera in your model and it will come up and put, you know, I don't know, Sony AR7 3 back button autofocus settings, and it will come up and you'll have a readout of how to set that. Because as the Sony is, it's quite a difficult menu. But that's the basics of it. It holds your focus and allows you a continuous shutter without losing your focus. Right, I think that's about me done today. I've just done a little landscapey shot up there. I don't know if it'd be any good, but it's quite windy today. So I wanted to, rather than freeze the grass, have it moving. I struggled a bit compositionally, but I'm telling you this because I think there's one good one. So I'll put it up in a minute. I think it's about 1/50th of a second. And ISO 50 F10 maybe, I think. But I wanted the shots down on the ground. I wanted the grass moving across the bottom with the still branches, but I don't think everything's perfectly still in there. So hey, like I said, if you don't do it, you don't know, do you? I've just had 2 groups of Duke of Edinburgh kids bump into me. First group kind of walks past, slows down. Excuse me. They're lost. Second group, I don't know, 100 yards behind them. Just stops me dead in my tracks. They're lost. Now, bless them, they're doing the Duke of Edinburgh, which is brilliant. I did mine, I remember when I did mine. But they clearly didn't pay attention in map reading lesson. They've all gone the wrong way. For the location they want to go to, they've gone the wrong way. I think they've done a left at their campsite when I would have done a right. But I don't like to be the bearer of bad news, but they've got a good 6-mile walk. When, in all fairness, if they'd done the right turn at the bloody campsite, they could have had a 3-mile walk. Nonetheless, it's lovely weather. I'm sure they'll enjoy themselves. Right, stay tuned. Don't forget all that stuff I got coming up. I don't know if I'm going to do much photography in Cornwall. I'm going down there to see a family member, but it is on Hale, and Hale Beach is quite beautiful. Then it's RIAT, Royal International Air to 2, and then I'm off to Bonnie, Scotland. Forgot about that earlier. I was telling you. Can't wait for that. Here's a family holiday up in the Forest Holidays Lodges, but there's no doubt in my mind that the camera will be coming. So I'm about done. Have a wonderful week. I wish all those Duke of Edinburgh people the best of luck. I'm heading back to the van. Home, coffee, Formula 1, chilled out Sunday. Cheers guys, thanks for watching, stay safe and I'll see you soon.